that was the original dream. I imagined that I would have a couple of those restaurants throughout the Caribbean. And that was it. You would never know who I am. You would just know this is the restaurant.
Yeah.
And maybe in passing, somebody would say, see that lady there? She owns,
Yes.
those restaurants.
But in hush tones.
Yes, hush
Hush
tones,
tones, yeah.
because I never wanted to be in the front.
Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Beyond the Business. This is a space where entrepreneurs, business professionals, and other creators have a safe space to tell the stories, the struggles, and the successes of their entrepreneurial journey. And me, I have the iconic food designer, Arlene. All right. So, Arlene, we've been working together for some time, and now you're here with me on this project. You're my very first guest. So thank you very much for taking the time to come and sit down with us and share a little bit of your story. All right. So let's get into it. Give me a little bit of an insight as to where you started and where you are right now.
Where I started. My favorite story to tell, I think.
Yeah.
I used to work at a financial institution. And then one day I gave them 2 weeks notice and started a catering company.
I love it.
That is the short version of a short story, really. I worked there. It was a really nice job. I enjoyed it. But, sometimes people can make your job hard. And I found myself wanting to go home on the weekend so quickly so I could cook up a storm and be in the kitchen. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, I was young when I did it too, so I was able to take the risk freely. Not an easy risk. I learned
Of course.
this very soon after. But that's pretty much how I got started. Just the love of cooking, coming from a cooking family. I learned to cook very young. I was 7 when my mother said, come and learn how to stew some chicken.
7.
And yeah. And also in my family, you must know how to cook something. It's one of those life skill things that you learn growing up in my family. Everybody knows how to make something. You must be able to cook for yourself, make things, And I would also say that, the business particularly started with my grandmother when I was just in primary school. She used to give me aloo pies, potato pies, in a little box or a container or something to sell. And I think it was like 25 cents or 50 cents. And she used to give me a little cut when I sell that price. Yeah, so I used to go to work, not work, to school, sorry, like a couple times to the week with these little, aloo pies. And my grandmother's also very good in the kitchen. So she would make like kumar and tamarind balls and stuff. So I always had some little thing to sell. And I always had like a crowd around me, recess time, because they know once I come with this specific container that there's something in that container to sell.
Right.
And then my mom started a business as well in food, and I guess I just fell in like that.
Yeah. So interesting for you to say that you started off in school, because I remember my very first business was in school. We used to sell box lunch, but
Listen.
But the whole point is in those spaces, those social spaces where sometimes you develop your passion and your love and your drive for certain things. I always give credit to my business teacher, Mr. Rojas from Trinity College. He is the one who really molded us and let us realize that you don't have to go down the traditional routes of being a doctor, a lawyer, etc. You can create something out of your own mind and create a business, and of course generate a lifestyle for yourself out of business. And most of that usually starts from school. And I think if more schools really tapped into that, you'd be surprised exactly what we're able to bring to the forefront.
Yeah.
All right. So you are what I term a celebrity chef and food personality. I know every time I say the word celebrity.
I get the food personality to celebrity. I think we can wait on a little bit.
But I think for the most part, a lot of persons know you from online and doing your content online, but they don't know that you're a chef first. And you operate in a really unique space. You either see people who are chefs or their personalities. Rarely ever you get the combination of the two. How has it been navigating being a personality and a chef for you?
Well, I should say that when I started as a chef, social media was not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very telling of my age. It really wasn't a thing. So it was, the focus was really to be a chef, and where you would get your recognition would pretty much be within the kitchens
Mm-hmm.
of the different restaurants. So you would find, when you go to a particular restaurant, they would say, you know, this person cooked there, or I used to cook there. This is how you would typically build your resume as a chef. I didn't have the privilege of working for anyone else in anyone else's kitchen, because I've always been doing my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I do understand, you know, how that environment works. So I had to transition from being in the back to being in the front. It was a very unwilling transition. A lot of people would have said, hey, you know, you shouldn't be the face of your business. You have a nice face. You have a nice personality. And in general, chefs do not necessarily, we are not people person per se.
Right.
But I would also like to mention that Food Network had also a great part to play in that, because you would never know who Gordon Ramsay is and these people if not
If it wasn't
for
for
those types of platforms.
correct.
And maybe Food Network came before social media, I think.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
did.
they did.
Definitely did.
So
So they
it
kind of
was,
pioneered
yeah,
what the future would have looked
like
in
chef and personality
coming
and celebrity
together. Right.
together. So it was a very unwilling transition. I was asked by my very first producer if I can make all of these local things. And I was like, yes, why are you asking me all of this? Because I had done work for that TV station before.
Mm-hmm.
And we created this show, which was actually my very first in front of the camera cooking experience. It was a very nice experience. And from there, you know, that led into one thing, one led into the other thing. And I realized that people really enjoy how I teach the recipes.
Mm-hmm.
I always get, you know, compliments about, you know, I did this and it was so easy the way you explained it. So I grew to love being in front of the camera from that feedback, knowing that when I show somebody this recipe and I share it, you know, it's helping a mom cook a meal,
Mm-hmm.
a wife make something really nice for her husband. I've even gotten where, you know, people marry from different cultures. So, for example, a Trinidadian man may have married somebody from the US, and they look at my videos and they say, oh, I'm going to make this Trinidad meal for my husband as a surprise. And it comes out really well. And so I get those types of feedback, and that really encourages me to continue
Yeah,
teaching.
I would imagine. Now, I've been blessed to work alongside you for quite some time,
Mm.
and it's always amazing to see the reaction when we're out in public. I remember, like, I love to tell the story when we were passing through Barbados. We were going to the Food and Rum Festival, and the immigration officer,
Yes, yes. She ran out from behind and she was
counter.
like, you.
So it's just amazing to see when you combine your talent of cooking, of course, your social ability, and combining that with the content creation and, of course, the digital marketing approach, what it is you're able, how far you're able to reach, the impact you're able to have on a global scale, because you've cooked in around the world.
I've got I've done quite a bit of
And
cooking.
you brought joy to everyone that you've been able to interact with. So tell me, the average chef, I would like to say, don't necessarily have your part per se. When you started going on this path, did you recognize that this is which part you're going to reach? Was that the ultimate goal, that you would have seen yourself cooking all over the world, or it evolved into that?
The original dream
Mm-hmm.
was I wanted to have a Caribbean themed TGI Fridays type of restaurant.
Oh,
So it would have been that, you know, where TGI Fridays sits kind of in the middle. You
yeah.
know, it's not extremely high end, but it's not, you know,
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the casual dining. But instead of American comfort food, it would have been Caribbean comfort food.
Mm-hmm.
That was the original dream. I imagined that I would have a couple of those restaurants throughout the Caribbean, and that was it. You would never know who I am. You would just know this is the restaurant.
Yeah.
And maybe in passing, somebody would say, see that lady there? She owns, you know,
Yeah.
those restaurants.
But in hushed tones.
Yes, hush
Hush
tones,
tones, yeah.
because I never wanted to be in the front. But you know, life would be lifing, as we say, and it didn't really work out that way. I made several attempts.
Mm-hmm.
This is my fifth attempt at a restaurant, actually. And it never really went that way, but I have achieved, successes in different ways. Even being in front of the camera, I would say, is an achievement that I never
Yeah.
dreamed about. If you ask anybody, I would always say, make sure there's a back door that I could go in and out of. And I don't want to be in front at all.
I know you're serving.
And now, yes, now I have to be in front, and it has its ups and downs. It has its advantages and disadvantages, but it's truly a rewarding experience so far, and it's definitely a unique part. So
Yeah, I mean, that is amazing. Sometimes we see the finish line, but we don't really understand the journey along to get to that finish line, and the directions that we just take sometimes to get to those goals.
Yeah.
We know it is an absolute challenge.
Mhm.
So one of the key things that impacts businesses is your customers. All right. Now, we've seen a rise in what so-called food critics.
Mhm.
I have my own thoughts towards them, but I wanna kind of get it from a perspective as someone who operates and runs a restaurant or who's in food. How has the customer impacted, or have you had any negative feedback from customers, and how do you navigate or deal with situations like that?
With regards to that, I would say it makes our job significantly harder, but it also allows us to have a great deal of accountability with our quality of food and service. Myself personally, and many other business owners, chefs, etc., we do our best. Where I think it's getting confusing is, this is the saying. The saying is, baking is a science, cooking is an art.
Mm-hmm.
And when we create a dish, it is so devastating for somebody to do two things. One, miss it, like they didn't get the concept, they
Understand the
didn't,
concept of
didn't
it. Yeah.
understand it, and as a result, you get a bad review.
Yeah.
And I think also changing the art form. So, for
No.
example, I create a dish. This is, because there is a process that goes into that. You create this dish, and then somebody says, "Oh, can I have it without this?"
Yeah, and
Or yeah,
that's a major part of the dish
that
itself.
that for me is always be like, "Gosh, I really want you to have it like
This
this,"
particular way.
And then with regards to persons popping up now and doing all of these reviews, the way I maneuver that space is I ask, is this person qualified to do a review?
Mm-hmm.
And we also need to be careful what is a review and what is an ad.
Yeah, and I think that what you just said is so important, because a review and an ad are two completely
Two
different things,
completely
right?
different things.
Because a review is just someone's open, honest opinion, unbiased, unmitigated, etc.
Yes. But a review also comes typically with a set of rules.
A level of
There's a
expertise.
judging criteria.
Okay.
So, and I've had this conversation a few times, and I've said, what is the best pilau? Wet pilau or dry pilau?
I like wet pilau.
Right. That is a preference. I
Mm.
like dry pilau.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that wet pilau
Oh,
is
it's
bad. It doesn't mean that dry pilau, that is a position of preference.
Preference, yeah.
However, we do not, as far as I know, have a judging criteria for pilau.
Mhm.
There is nothing that says pilau should be this way. However, there are things that says steak should be this way.
I
Fish
understand.
should be
I
this way.
understand what you mean. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when people pop up and they go, "Oh, the mashed potatoes were too soft,"
Based on your preference,
Yeah.
not necessarily a criteria.
yes. How
Understood.
soft is really mashed potatoes supposed to be?
Yeah.
And what is too soft mashed potatoes? I feel like if I have mashed potato and I feel like I put a cloud in my mouth, this is great.
Yeah.
So I think that makes this space, especially in the Caribbean food aspects of things, I think that is a bit challenging. I have, over the years, I've gotten, this was to this or this was to that. I have to say that I haven't gotten like a terrible review.
Right.
It's more like, and my customers so far has been very gentle. They're like, "Hey, I just wanted to mention this was a little sweet for us, or this was a little this, or."
And think about how significant that is. At the moment, they can mention or come to you and say, "Here's what. I had a problem, or I had an issue with this, or I had too much or too little of this." And what we tend to see, instead of customers addressing what issue they may have immediately,
Mm-hmm.
they tend to eat the whole food, bite up the bone, lick the fingers,
And then go onto social
go
media.
home, then go onto social media and leave a review instead of addressing the issues. Because I'm of the firm belief that good customer service starts first with being a good customer.
Mm-hmm.
Simple manners, simple etiquette go a long way. Because I'm pretty certain if you go and say, here's what, I don't like this, or I didn't have enough of this, someone there, majority of the times, I'm on the sides of the food businesses. They will in fact try to address the issue
Yeah.
or deal with the matter. And you're actually blessed to be able to have customers that will come to you. You could have done this or you could have done this a little bit differently. And I think that makes a difference in terms of how we perceive food businesses out there. And how sometimes we even harm businesses out there
Yeah.
because when one person makes a bad review, I will go online and say this is a good place to eat, and 5 people will watch it. I'll go and say this is a bad place to eat, and 5,000 people will watch it, not
Yeah.
realizing the impact that you will have on someone's business, their
Yeah.
creative freedom, and their investment. Because when you make an investment into food business, God alone knows the
It's a very
cost
expensive.
of doing
Yeah,
something like that, and you
it
can
is.
do irreparable damage
Yeah.
to these people's. And
I think too, like people who are in social media do have a social responsibility, and in my opinion, a good bit of them are just very careless.
Mhm.
You know, and you mentioned something like etiquette, and I feel like that also is just going out of the window because people come also with this preconceived idea of I want this experience to be this way rather than this is the experience I'm providing.
Right.
You know, I would go somewhere and I would say, this experience wasn't for me. Not that it was bad or good or anything. It just wasn't
Wasn't for
something
you.
that I enjoyed,
Mhm.
and I just would not go back. But
And you have that choice as
and
well.
and people seem to forget that you can also just not go to a place.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, this is very drastic and not something in the Caribbean, but I saw where this vegan person went to a restaurant that typically would serve meat. The chef made a special plate for her. She found it was too expensive and she made a whole rant and she started protesting outside of the restaurant. And he said, I'm banning all vegans.
No vegans.
No vegans.
Not
I
all
mean,
vegans.
I'm very
It's
up
very
to date with
drastic.
all. It is very drastic, but I can see where
Mhm.
chefs and restaurant owners are becoming frustrated with that type of entitlement.
That's the word right there. Entitlement.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if this is my menu, I don't think it's okay for you to come in. And now, if you say, hey, I wish you guys had more vegetarian options, it is my prerogative to say, yeah, let's add some. And from a business standpoint, it does make sense. And from a service standpoint, it does make sense. But if I am a steak restaurant
Yeah.
and you're coming to ask me for a vegetarian option,
This is not the place for you.
you can go to a place that is passionate about it. And vegan food is a whole different dynamic of cooking as well.
It is.
It's a different spirit as well. The ingredients, though similar, it would be, just the way you put it together to make it nice in general. That has, a bit to do with it. So I think that sense of entitlement, it gets mixed up with the opinions in the reviews, and it's getting very complicated, very messy, very fast.
Definitely, because again, it all leads back to preference. Now, I want to touch on your latest project, My House Tobago. We have been seeing the content on, well, I make the content, so that's where we're seeing. I've been blessed enough to work alongside you with this particular My House project. Let's tap into exactly what My House represents as a brand and what the expectations could be for the customers.
My house came about after I said I'm never opening another restaurant, just so you know. And I made that statement after I closed the Octopus Grill. This was COVID time. And I was like, I'm pretty tired. I think I could take a break. I even went and learned something else.
Right.
I wouldn't tell you what that something else is. But I was like, nah, I'm done with this. But then I started creating the recipe videos, and I was like, yeah, I could do this as my way to stay in the community and contribute as well to the industry. And then people kept saying, boy, I wish I could eat by you. I want to come and eat by you. I want to come and eat by you. If a thing. And, and then when I post it in things like time I would spend with my family or something, I'd be like, boy, I wish I could come and eat by you. Or they might be real cooking up a storm, things like that. And then the opportunity for the space was there. And I was like, maybe I can do this. And it was there. It was something happening in the background. And then I was like, this is going to be, it is a house.
It is,
yeah. This
so
space is a house.
My house is in fact a house.
And I was like, yeah, it will just be, to kind of also, I guess, collaborate with the personality side of it. I figured, let me just tell people come and eat at my house.
I love it, and we see persons come across. One of the pop-ups, we call them, is breakfast before bed. So this is the opportunity for persons to come and get that authentic Tobago style thing at 6, 7 o'clock in the evening.
Yes,
into the night. So you get your hot chocolates, etc. Where did that concept come from?
Well, Tobago is a small island, and the way I describe how we share customers in terms of all the other restaurant owners, we, depending on where your restaurant sits in terms of price, determines how often a group of clients will come. And we're not all, we are not all serving the same clients all the time. However, it's like this. You have doubles, you have the middle range, you have top tier. You're not going to the top tier every week.
No.
Right? So you may be there maybe once a month, every other month, or special occasions. Then you come down by my level there, maybe every 2 weeks for a little something. And then, but at the same time, if we have, let's say, out of the population, let's say it's 1,000 people eating out in all total, only a percentage eats up here, only a percentage eats here, but everybody eats here.
Yeah.
So we are always sharing a group of customers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then we're also competing with things like Christmas. So if I'm with Christmas coming up, people are not eating out. They're grabbing something fast and they're going and not really studying to dine and things like that. So recently I've noticed that we've gotten quite a few nice breakfast spots.
Right.
Some of them I know as, colleagues, I would say. And I didn't want to jump into that same space
as them
to compete. So I looked and I said, you know what? Let me do it in the night. Nobody else is doing breakfast at night. So let's see. And I tried it and I had a really good response. And yeah.
Well, look at that. Who would have thought breakfast in night? I remember when there was a restaurant in is it Maraval? There's a diner. The diner there.
Yeah.
And people they were rushing for the pancakes, etc. And they were doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So I guess now you're able to bring a similar type of theme where you can get breakfast at.
Yeah. And of course, we changed the menu. So right now it's a Tobago centric menu because people can't get enough of it. I'm not changing it because people keep asking for it.
They keep asking.
As soon as I feel like, they're ready for something different, then I'll make the change for sure.
Wonderful. One thing I want you to do as a businesswoman is to celebrate a win. So we're going to be celebrating wins on Beyond the Business. If you can highlight one win that you've had for the entire, let's say 2023.
2020.
One of your biggest wins.
A good win for me would be my Sunday lunch service.
Yeah.
That to me, I did not know if it would work. I didn't know if people would buy Sunday lunch like that, but I believed in it from a very selfish place because I am not cooking Sunday lunch for myself.
Right.
I'm cooking other things and I would love to go and buy Sunday lunch somewhere. And it is nothing fancy. It's a traditional Sunday lunch, macaroni pie, callaloo peas, 4 weeks. And I'm sold out every Sunday.
I remember taking that, I believe was a voice note, either a voice note or a phone call. And the person is trying to place their order and you're hearing Pastor preaching in the background.
Yes.
All right, so we want to advise persons when you're placing your orders for your Sunday lunch at my house, please don't do it in the middle of service. Pastor is complaining.
Yes, we should put that at the bottom of the
So,
flyer. Don't order during church.
don't order during church.
But I would say that that has been a win. Well, I would say that has been a win in my house.
Mhm.
A win for me, well, I'm not sure if it's a win just yet, is getting back into food business.
Yeah. And you have to be some level of brave to be able to. Now, you mentioned this is your fifth attempt at doing this. It shows your level of tenacity and willing to. Sometimes you don't even realize that you're just born to do something, regardless of how far you try to run from it. You're just kind of gonna end up right back in this space of creativity, which is probably just that's just your purpose. Identifying your purpose and knowing what you're meant to do and doing it.
Yeah.
And that's most important. All right. So we celebrated the win.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Confetti.
You know what? I'm gonna get some confetti for you next. So you have your restaurant. You have already set yourself as a personality. Some of the main challenges that you face as a restaurant owner and as a personality.
Now, there's a piece of a challenge that is unique to women.
Mm-hmm.
So I will answer that as well.
Wonderful. I think we will appreciate that perspective very much.
Being a business owner, I think in general, but of course I always stay in my lane. So being a restaurant owner, I think the general challenges is really just the day-to-day operations.
Mm-hmm.
It is 24 hours nonstop. You're thinking about it. I have challenges for things like produce.
Mm-hmm.
There is always something as simple as sai, for example, or spring onion, as some people would say. That is a big part of everything that I make. Sometimes there's a shortage. If the boat doesn't work, the inter-island ferry doesn't work, then there's shortage of things.
And that is the challenge I think a lot of businesses
Yes.
as well face. I feel it for you.
That one is specific to Trinidad. And there are also just things like staff. It's always a challenge.
Yeah.
And while I can't do everything in my business, I could do everything from top to bottom. I could do everything, but it's not realistic for me to continue to do everything.
Correct.
So staffing is one of those major challenges as well. And, for me, I hire for personality over skill. I can teach you a skill.
Yeah.
But character, I can't teach.
Character. Yeah, gotta come
Right?
on. Yeah.
So those are some of the main ones that I experience. Just the supply of stuff and staff. As a woman in business, there is always this extra step that we have to take in terms of taking meetings and safety.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that a lot of people don't recognize it. Like, obviously, you're a man, you probably didn't really think about it because you're not in my position.
Correct.
And I explained it like this to a friend of mine who's also in business. I said to him, if somebody calls you and says, hey, I want to meet with you at Techies at 7 p.m. to talk about your t-shirt business.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, yeah, no problem. But when I get that same phone call, I have to think about the time of night.
Yeah. How you getting there?
Yes.
Which part you going to park?
Yes, all of those things, in addition to what is the intention of this
meeting
man asking me to meet. And I have to become more and more cautious of this over the years. Well, less now because I think people they get my position pretty early up. But before, I've had so many experiences where men were inappropriate. They ask me for meetings. I'm in business. I have to go to the meeting. So they set it up as a dinner or a drink.
A more casual
Yes,
type of
which
thing.
I'm fine with. But
yeah.
Then I started doing coffee shops in the daytime. Like, I really can't do 7 p.m., but can we do coffee instead? And some of them are unwilling. It does help weed out the undesirable intentions, but it is a step that we have to take that is so exhausting. And I know for a fact that I have lost a lot of opportunity because I was skeptical and I didn't show up to this. And it didn't necessarily mean that person had ill intentions, but because I was like,
You're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
challenges as women get into business, as they start to explore their entrepreneurial journey, taking into consideration the factor of safety is really, really important, especially in our society. We know what is going on, you know. So it's good to know that you've been able to identify that and adjust your play and your approach as well to ensure that your safety is paramount.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just it's like I said, it's an additional step that we have to take. And for me,
Mhm.
that was a major challenge. And I have actually been told that if I don't do this, I'm not going to get this job or this opportunity.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously it's a choice we have to make if we want to do something for something or, pass up on the opportunity. And I've had to miss out on quite a few what I think is opportunities. But of course, I operate on a level of faith that lets me know, well, maybe this is not the sacrifice for me then. You know what I mean? And I think just that, along with also forming relationships, is also challenging.
Yeah. I mean, I probably wouldn't have to experience that, you know.
I'm sure it
At least
happens, but maybe on a lesser.
probably on a lesser scale,
Yes.
probably on a lesser scale, you know. But it's really interesting and definitely something that we need to take note, going forward. I want you to give those who are in the food industry. All right. So we know we're gonna have persons who are into food, who are into catering, etc. What piece of advice you can lend to someone who's entering this space?
Starting a catering business or a food business.
Yeah,
Love it.
love it.
This specific industry, you have to love it. The hours, the physical work, the endurance, you have to love it. You have to love this food, making this food from start to finish and everything that comes with it. It is not something you can go into and be like, yeah, I'm going to do this and make money. If you want to have a quality, long-standing existence in the food industry, you have to love it. Because the amount of challenges, the amount of losses that I have experienced, and still I go back, it is also a calling. It is a love. I miss it when I don't have it. I hate it when I have it sometimes. Because you don't work for 6 hours in a food
Yeah,
food
that's all.
business. It's 10 and up. It's 10 and up. Sometimes for me it's 15, depending on the season, depending on what I have to get done. And like I mentioned before, when a staff member doesn't show up, I have to fill in for that as well. So you have to absolutely love it. You have to be able to sit and be like, yeah, this was, and enjoy it along the way, which I tend to do. Like, I might cook something and be like, yeah, it's always the best things. And, I'm always like,
Yeah,
this is the best one. This is the
this is
best
this
one.
one. Yeah.
Of course, that is improvement over the years, practice and, being more confident in mixing flavors and things like that. But I would say make sure that you absolutely love it. Because I know a lot of people that did all of their training, they went to culinary school, they did all the things, and they are not operating in the industry at the moment.
And I think that's which part the passion starts to fade
Yeah.
and the weariness starts to set in.
Yeah.
And that's which part purpose comes back into play there.
Yes.
Because if that is not your purpose, you're definitely not gonna last throughout it.
Yeah.
So we're here now. Food designer Arlene, personality developed, brand is out there. We have My House that is developed. What do you have, or where do you see yourself or your business in the future?
Future for me would look like I would love to continue sharing more recipes online. I absolutely enjoy the fact that people benefit so much from it on any level, So I definitely see myself doing more of the recipe videos. There are things that I would like to share in terms of vessels and utensils.
Oh, so you can expect like a Martha Stewart finish where you have your own line of pots and knives. You know what?
Yes,
I'm claiming
like
for it.
like a Martha Stewart meets Tabitha Brown in the Caribbean kind of thing.
I feel it.
Yes.
Was that like use trendy Caribbean?
Trendy
Caribbean. Yeah, I love that. Trendy Caribbean
Yes.
cuisine and cooking and that whole style because I love the way you fuse a lot of the traditional aspects of food into your recipes. You don't stray away from the basics, but you also make it fun. So when we had the dal and rice and the martini cups,
Everybody talks
or,
about this.
or we had the oxtail pizza or the pineapple and jerk chicken pizza.
Yeah.
So you always find ways to integrate the traditional aspect of our cooking
Mhm.
into these really trendy, fun ways. And you don't see a lot of people doing that. It's really contemporary or it's all stew chicken and rice.
But see, you just revealed my secrets.
Oh.
Which is fine. So my approach to all of my recipes, menus, is to really hold on to that tradition that gives you a sense of nostalgia. So people are usually like, I feel so good when I eat your food.
Yeah.
And it's those little things, keeping the tradition alive. Just today a woman said to me, I made your coconut bake recipe for my husband, and he said it tastes just like his mother's. For me, that is the ultimate compliment. I blushed at the compliment because this is a mature lady telling me this. She has a mature husband. And so for him to identify that with his mom, which would easily be my grandmother, to me, that holding on to those types of feelings through food is very important. That is really my approach in most things. So I want to be fancy.
Right.
But also this assists me as well in being recognized for the times when I do travel for work and I have to do a presentation or a demo of any kind. It's, this is where I'm from, but I could be fancy.
I love it.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So we've had the pleasure of meeting a few celebrity chefs along our way. All right, we met Chef Huda, we met Anne Burrell. I remember those times. If there's one celebrity chef that you could probably cook alongside, who would it be?
Who would that be? That's a very tricky one.
It's a good question.
It's a very good question. I can't pick one, and I'll tell you why. I read Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. May he rest in peace. He would be somebody I would like to cook for and have a conversation with, because that book really reminds me of, where my place is and how I'm inspired and things like that. I think that Chef Huda is a very fun chef.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we did something together, that would be
That'd be
an
fun.
amazing dish, whatever it is. I had the pleasure of meeting her, of course, and attending her demo. So that was very inspiring and encouraging for me as well. And I had a few, sideline chats with her. So I would love that experience. And I think I want to cook for Gordon Ramsay. I want to, or maybe challenge him. He's always challenging people with his beef Wellington and his this and this. I would like to challenge him to something like a macaroni pie. Just come true.
Yeah, I feel like if you put Gordon Ramsay a macaroni pie challenge,
yes,
you'll give him a good run for your money.
I think so too.
Because food is such a dynamic thing. We did Barbados Food and Rum Festival, and I know that kind of runs into your personality side of things. Do you see yourself continuously attending more of these food and rum festival, and can I continuously come with you?
Definitely willing to attend more of those things. Before we did this on social media, I did attend a lot of these things. What is that? Free social media?
Pre-existence?
Free? Would it be, how did it say? BC?
BC?
BS?
Yes.
Prior to us having social media, I used to attend a lot of food festivals. Every time I travel, anytime there was one, and we used to have a lot of those in Trinidad and Tobago as well. And competitions I would enter and stuff like that. I judged a few competitions as well. All of those things keep me inspired, so I will definitely continue to attend. And of course, you can come along.
That's it, guys.
Yes. What better way to, that to me, that is the best job in the world. You eat, you drink, you talk about it.
It's truly something, I advise all the brand managers, all the social media managers, the content creators out there, get yourself a chef or a
on your
fruit list
roster.
or a restaurant on your client listing, because I'm telling you, I have at least a little extra
Yes.
side here.
Filming week is a heavy week.
You know, just the stress of eating all this good food has just be so,
So
so,
stressful.
so stressful. I mean,
But that
how,
is another bit of advice I would say for anybody, even before you go heavily into your business, if you're just thinking about it, food festivals are locally, internationally, wherever you can attend them, however you can afford to,
Mhm.
is a place where you get inspired for sure. I recently picked up pumpkin jam
Oh.
at World Food Day in Tobago, and
Mhm.
it doesn't matter the scale. Like people think, you go to the big fancy ones. Let me tell
Yeah,
you, there are some really creative people doing amazing things, but they're now starting out.
that's very true.
Even I did a bunch of those food festivals when I was starting out to get my brand out there, to get people to
Mhm.
taste things, sample things, things like that. So you go to these festivals and you just buy little interesting things and you try it and you taste it, and you kind of go with that pumpkin jam. Immediately when I tasted it, and this is my trained tongue, I was like, this is good for roast fish.
Mm.
Like now I'm able to be like, taste something and go, yeah, this is
You
a
could
good
pair it
roast
with
fish.
something,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
And many years ago, I went to a bacon festival in New York. The whole festival in
just
there was just
bacon.
bacon stuff. I had bacon sushi and I bought bacon jam.
No, we're going into down a rabbit hole here. We're talking about bacon jar,
Yes.
and I always speak about that time we did a chocolate rub on pork.
Yes. This
No,
is
it was
your
a chocolate
favorite.
ham. It was a chocolate pork.
Pork.
It was
Pork
chocolate
ribs
pork.
rubbed with chocolate.
Chocolate. All right. Tell me a little bit more about that chocolate pork recipe.
Now, that is not really a foreign thing, chocolate on pork. It's not
It isn't.
super popular, but it's
Mhm.
not a foreign concept. I think with me and my recipe, I use the Tobago chocolate that we used to make
Mhm.
tea. That is probably the difference. But sometimes recipes come about out of desperation, meaning, oh, shoot, I didn't have anything. What am I going to put on this pork rib? And I'm
Mhm.
looking around the kitchen, but there is a calculation that happens with it, and that comes with experience and knowledge, of course.
Mhm.
And there is a bitter sweetness to that chocolate. And then typically when you rub pork, you put a little brown sugar, you put a little paprika.
Mhm.
So I know how that chocolate tastes.
Right.
And I just have that imagination, and I'm like, yeah, this is gonna work.
Just understanding those what they
Yeah.
call flavor profiles.
Yes. And
I love how
that
you put it.
definitely comes with practice. And that
Mhm.
is one of the reasons why I always encourage people to go to the food festivals, because people are doing all kinds of things.
Yeah, we're seeing that now. I mean,
Yeah.
we did about 7 different flavors of pastel this year.
Yes.
We put curry crab in
Yes.
pastel.
Curry
We had
crab and
oxtail
pastel.
pastel. What else we had?
Jira
We had
pork.
jira pork pastel. Like we just threw all the rules out of the
Yes.
window, and we're adapting to, and which is nice to see the evolution of food.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we grew up with food tasting one particular way.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing people opening up their minds and their palettes into new interesting things, which is good, especially for businesses. And when we are able to position ourselves as business owners to be innovative, to be creative, and to be able to connect people with those experiences and maximize on those opportunities, see how much steps that is.
Yeah.
But there's a certain sweet spot in there that ensures that you're successful in your business. And I think you've done just that, being able to blend that contemporary and traditional taste and really bring that experience together. Of course, complemented with your personality. People feel like they can be in your presence and you're cooking for them directly. So I want to end on that note right there. All right. And thank you very, very much for
Thank you so
being
much
part
for
of our,
having me.
our very first
First
podcast. All right. I mean, outside of this, I do look forward to us continuously working together.
Yes, for
We
sure.
have some fantastic experiences. And I also want to encourage others, if it is you enjoy the content that you consumed here, if you enjoy hearing the behind the scenes of businesses, like I said, this is a space where we discuss the stories, the struggles, as well as the successes. We celebrate those successes here on Beyond the Business. And we're looking forward to continuously growing. So feel free to like, subscribe, drop a comment. Maybe there's an industry that you're interested in. Maybe there's a space that you would like for us to cover. Maybe you're an entrepreneur yourself, you're a business professional yourself, and you really want to be able to get into the space of being able to tell your story and inspire and motivate others. This is the place to do it. All right. So till next time, I'll see you all on Beyond the Business.
Beyond
Thanks
the
again, Arlene.
business. You're very welcome. Thank you.